Greetings, tankers. This is Saiphas Cain. I'm assuming you've already done the tutorial mission and know how to drive and shoot. This guide gets into some of the intermediate skills for World of Tanks. If you're a veteran, there probably isn't anything here for you, but if you're new, mastering these skills can help speed your improvement. Let's begin. It takes a bit of forethought to really stick the landing when sliding downhill or making a jump. Treads are notoriously fragile, and you'll want to ensure your tank is facing in the direction of travel, not the direction you want to travel, before leaving the ground. Treads aren't boots, and a tank that slides sideways downhill is liable to break something when it lands. When approaching a known enemy position, try to make a staggered approach like a sailing ship going upwind. This makes most of your armor angles steeper, increasing the chance of bouncing shells. Driving erratically and with unexpected reverses also makes you a harder target for artillery, and keeps your weak spots moving and harder to aim for. Videos from the wargaming site always seem to feature impressive acrobatics, but opportunities like these are comparatively rare. Death from above is a beautiful tactic when it works, but it rarely works. You can keep an eye out for opportunities, but don't sacrifice a safer tactical assault just for the attempt. Always keep your turret pointed in the direction you expect action to come from. If you need to look around, hold the right mouse button to lock the turret while you do. Tanks have armor values, but wrecks are impenetrable. If you're caught in a bad situation, try to make a meat shield for yourself. Allied wrecks work just as well, but for this, please let the enemy do the processing for you. When making an advance, always expect a crossfire. Keep low to stay safe. Stick to valleys and depressions. Do not drive on ridges unless you're going downhill at high speed, and even then it's not the greatest idea. On the subject of shooting, you'll need some familiarity with your gun's shell velocity in order to aim properly. Each gun has a different muzzle velocity, and a howitzer aimed at a fast target needs a great deal more lead than a high-velocity shell fired at a slow-moving one. Premium loads have their advantages, but they aren't some magic I win button. You still have to be aware of their limitations. High-explosive anti-tank or heat shells, for example, perform very poorly against spaced armor, which is fairly common on heavier vehicles and high-tier designs. Facing multiple opponents, just looking to do collateral damage, aim at the furthest one in a group and move to put other opponents between you and your target. You're more likely to hit something, anything, this way, and by placing opponents between you and your target, you open up chances for friendly fire damage on the enemy. Auto-aim is a handy tool that'll keep your aim center mass on your target. This is terrible if you're shooting long range or trying to hit weak spots. Use it in close with fast tanks and rapid fire or high penetration guns. This lets you focus on dodging rocks and tanks while your CPU gunner focuses on the target. Using the sniper view or tank destroyer mode to line up tougher shots is a good idea, but remember to use it to check your lines of sight too. This will tell you what your gun can actually hit, which isn't always apparent when zoomed out. It will also tell you what your tank is temporarily safe from. You'll hear the term hulled down a lot with tank combat, especially with the US heavy tree where turret armor is considerably thicker than hull armor. This is driving uphill and exposing only your turret, shielding the rest of your tank from fire. Tanks with thin turret armor don't benefit as much, but they still present a much smaller target. When bringing superior numbers against an opponent, a track shot is an excellent tactical option. It'll stop the enemy, allowing you to duck around a corner and give your allies easier shots on the enemy weak points. When multiple targets are available, it's a good idea to fire on the softer targets first. While they may not be the most dangerous, they're easier to eliminate, which helps in the long run. Fewer tanks are easier to fight than more. When sniping at an opponent, it's a good idea to move after the engagement. You may not be spotted, but skilled opponents will note where your fire is coming from and shoot there blindly anyway. When your tank lacks a turret, you want to avoid turning solutions. If you have hard cover and you're being assaulted by a faster opponent, don't leave it. Hard cover forces the enemy to make larger, slower loops when circling. Leaving it just gives them the advantage. You can tell how bad the situation is by how fast the capture meter is going. Sometimes it's better to get on the cap, sometimes it's better to reset. This is all based on your speed and position. Just remember, it only takes one hit point of damage to reset someone, and high explosive shells are less likely to bounce and better at doing damage, even if only a tiny bit of it. Lastly, know when to get small. If your team is using your spotting, try to sit still in a ditch and hold fire. The longer you go undetected, the better. If you do it right, feel like the enemy is fighting ghosts. For more World of Tanks news and articles, visit thematani.com.